Welcome, boys and girls and parents, to the Grace Fellowship Kids eCampus. Join us today for story time as we read Too Busy Doing Good. And please share this with your friends so that they can listen too. Too Busy Doing Good. No longer worried about food, Israel journeyed on down the peninsula of Sinai. Then the water problem came up again. By the time they reached Rephidim once more, there was no water for the people to drink. As usual, they blamed Moses. "Give us water," they cried. "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst?" Some even asked, "Is the Lord with us or not?" This time they were very angry, and Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, "What shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me." Then God told Moses to take some of the leading men in the camp, the elders of Israel, and go on ahead to a certain rock in Horeb. This rock he was to strike with his rod, and water would flow from it. The group of leaders went ahead with Moses and saw him strike the rock. Water flowed from it in abundance, and again the needs of the people and the cattle were supplied. Hardly was this problem solved, however, when more trouble came. This time from the people of Amalek, who did not like to have the Israelites passing through their country. Maybe, too, they thought this was a good chance to steal some of their cattle. Anyhow, their soldiers swooped down out of the mountains one day, taking Israel by surprise, but they were quickly defeated thanks to a young man named Joshua, who led the men of Israel into battle. Moses watched the fight from a hilltop with Aaron and Hur. Can you say Aaron and Hur? After a while, these two men noticed that when Moses held up his hands, the soldiers of Israel were winning. But then when he dropped his hands, Amalek was winning. So Aaron and Hur set Moses on a stone and held up his hands, the one on the one side, the other on the other side, until victory was won. By sunset, the Amalekites were in flight, and Moses was able to rest his weary arms. Then he built an altar to the Lord, calling it Jehovah Nissi, meaning the Lord my banner. Can you say banner? The soldiers understood why. They had seen him holding up his hands in prayer to God for them all day, just as though he had been holding a banner to inspire them to do their best. From Rephidim, Israel journeyed to the wilderness of Sinai and made camp near the Mount of God. Soon after this, word reached Moses that Jethro, his father-in-law, was coming to see him, bringing Zipporah, Moses' wife, and his two sons, Gershom and Eleazar. Moses went out to meet Jethro, bowed respectfully to him, and kissed him. Then they all gathered together in Moses' tent to talk over all that had happened since Moses left Midian to go to Egypt. I imagine these two boys were mighty glad to see their father again, don't you? And how surprised they must have been to see so many people, having lived in the country all their lives, looking after their grandfather's sheep. They had never dreamed there were so many men, women, and children in all the world. What a lot there was to talk about, and Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done unto Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all the trials and difficulties that had come upon them by the way, and how the Lord delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel. "Now I know," he said, "that the Lord is greater than all gods." Then they had a big party for Jethro, with Moses, Aaron, and all the elders of Israel taking part. Next morning Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood by Moses from the morning unto the evening. There were so many matters on which people needed advice, and so many cases of misunderstanding between one man and another, that Moses was kept talking and answering questions all day long. Jethro stood by, watching and listening, when at last he was able to speak to Moses alone and gave him some good advice. "You can't stand this," he said. "You'll wear yourself out." "But," said Moses, "the people keep coming to me, and I have to judge between them and make them know the statutes of God and his laws." "But it's too much for you," said Jethro. "You cannot do this all by yourself." Then he told Moses to divide the work and lay some of the burden upon others. "Provide out of all the people able men," he said, "such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, hundreds, 50s, and of 10s. And let them judge the people at all seasons, and it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee." It was good advice. Moses, with the best intentions in the world, was trying to do too much. He was actually too busy doing good. He liked being thought of as the father of his people, meeting all their needs and answering all their questions, but nobody could do all this and keep well. As Jethro said, he was just wearing himself out and would die long before his work was done. Fortunately, Moses was humble enough to take advice, which is more than can be said of some boys and girls today. He did what Jethro said and chose able men out of all Israel and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought unto Moses, but every small matter they judged themselves. It was a good thing that Moses did as he was told, for big events were about to happen. In just a little while, he would have to spend 40 days and 40 nights with God on Mount Sinai. Had he not given up all his detailed work as judge and counselor of the people, he would never have been able to do the far greater things God wanted him to do. He would have been too busy to seize life's greatest opportunities, too busy to receive the tablets of the law from its holy author, too busy to meet God face to face. It pays to take advice from a good man. Thank you for listening, boys and girls. Remember, today's keywords were Aaron, Hur, and banner. And please share this with your friends so that they can listen too. Bye-bye.